Is Modern Warfare 3 just a $70 DLC for Modern Warfare 2? Well, the short answer is no. This has been a very popular thing I've been seeing on Twitter and YouTube, where a bunch of people keep saying that the new Modern Warfare 3, ever since the beta's dropped, they've been saying that it is essentially just a $70 DLC for Modern Warfare 2. And I want to kind of just fully debunk that, because I think a lot of the people who are saying this either have not even tried the game yet because they just haven't played it and they've just watched gameplay, or it's people who have played it but don't really fully understand the fundamentals of what makes a video game unique. First of all, let's just go over the few reasons as to why people think this in the first place, and honestly, I don't blame them. There's a lot of people who think that this basically is just a DLC and that's what it should have been, and there's some pretty reasonable reasons as to why people think this. So first of all, the HUD and UI look the exact same. They do. They're kind of different in some ways. There's definitely differences, but yes, it is a very similar HUD and UI to the original, or not the original, but the Modern Warfare 2 that just came out last year. And I'm not very happy about that. I've definitely voiced my opinion on that I wish they kind of went with a different look, but I guess they just wanted to feel more connected to last year's Call of Duty, especially because a lot of the stuff from last year's Call of Duty is coming over to this, including the operator bundles and the guns and stuff like that. So it makes sense why they wanted to keep it kind of similar, but I could see why that looks kind of fishy to some people who are expecting this to be a completely unique and original game, but then they end up looking at the HUD and it looks just like Modern Warfare 2 from last year. Another reason is the setting being very similar. Obviously, they are both modern games. They're Modern Warfare games, so they're going to look kind of similar. There's similar weaponry, similar, weapons being used in general, equipment. And another reason for that is the fact that this is coming just a year after already having a game in that exact same setting. We've actually never had that happen before, other than if you go all the way back to the OG Call of Duty, like Call of Duty 1, 2, and 3. Of course, we got, World War II Call of Duties again and again and again. But once you start with COD 4 and beyond, every year was a very different setting each year, even with the futuristic Call of Duties. A lot of people have this thing mixed up where they assume just because the game is in the future that it has to be the same setting as other games in the future, but there is no way you can convince me that Black Ops 3 is the same setting as Infinite Warfare. Those games are very different in terms of their settings. They're just in the future, but one is more sci-fi, like, technology based. The other one is just the space warfare. Like, that's literally what the other one is. They're very different things. And Advanced Warfare was also quite different. Although they might have some similar looks in some places, I would still argue the settings for those games are very distinct and very unique in the art style. They're very different. But this is the first time in Call of Duty's history where literally just a year later we are getting the exact same setting, very similar art style, and of course the HUD, the UI is the same as well. It makes sense why people are running to this conclusion. I don't really blame them for it. And then the cherry on top is the fact that this was originally supposed to be a $70 DLC. That's what the whole leak was. Now, we don't exactly know what that leak entails, because of course leaks are just leaks. Activision never once came out and said that this was going to originally be a $7 DLC. They never said that. So anybody saying, oh, Activision lied, no, they never stated that whatsoever. It was all leaked information. And I do believe it probably was the original plan, but sometime down the road, maybe they decided, okay, let's actually just turn this into a full game. And I do think it was a while ago. I don't think this was a recent decision. It was probably way before we even heard the leak itself about the game just being a DLC. And originally that's what it was going to be. It was just going to be the Modern Warfare 2 maps thrown into MW2, maybe some new guns, but that's pretty much it. But what do we get now? Pretty much an entirely new game. It's very difficult to describe to someone who hasn't actually tried the game for themselves, but I do think this is a very unique feeling Call of Duty. When I play Modern Warfare 3, I do not feel like this is another Call of Duty that I've already played. I just can't think of a single one. Like, usually I have some sort of a prior Call of Duty to kind of like reference. I could be like, oh, it kind of feels like a mix between this and this. This one, I really can't put my finger on it. Like, I really don't feel like it has any sort of connection to prior Call of Duty games, especially not Modern Warfare 2 from last year. It does not play like that game whatsoever. It does not feel like that game. The only similarity, of course, there's a couple things with like the animations and like in terms of the movement. Obviously you have the same like sliding and jumping, or not jumping, what was it, dolphin diving. You have the same sort of like buttons that you press to do those things, but they feel very different. The mechanics are completely different for those things. And in terms of just overall spawns, they're very different. Obviously, your maps are different, but the design of the maps are very different too. Then of course you have completely new class system as well, which a lot of people don't really understand how much vests changes classes in this game, but to me it does. I think it makes a big difference. The overall like attachment system is very different. They have to rework a lot to make this game work, especially when it comes to adding the Modern Warfare 2 guns into Modern Warfare 3. They have to rework all of them. It's going to be pretty crazy to see, but it is entirely new. That's how you know it's new. If it was the exact same game, they wouldn't have to rework all the guns into this game. They would just port them over and it'd be fine. But no, they're reworking every single one of those guns to make them fit into this game because that's how different this game actually is. Of course, the time to kill is probably the biggest difference, which personally, I think time to kill makes a huge difference for any Call of Duty game. Like if you have a slower or faster time to kill, it will make or break that game. And just having the slower time to kill here, I think makes a huge gameplay difference between this and of course Modern Warfare 2 from last year. Everything's sped up too. Everything just feels better. It feels smoother. It feels faster. I'm in love with it. I really am in love with this game. If you guys have watched my other videos, you know I'm really enjoying this multiplayer. And I just think it's ridiculous to jump to the conclusion that it's just a $70 DLC just because it looks the same. Like, okay, it looks similar, sure, but that's because it's a Modern Warfare game coming a year after another Modern Warfare game. And crazy enough, this is not the first for Call of Duty. For the OG Modern Warfare 3, this same argument was brought up by so many people where they had this issue with how similar Modern Warfare 3 was to Modern Warfare 2. We saw this with Infinite Warfare, so many people complaining that it's too similar to Black Ops 3. We saw this issue even with World at War back in the day. People thought it was just, you know, COD 4, but with a World War II reskin. Like, we've had these arguments before, and it all boils down to, yes, Call of Duty releases every single year. There's not that many different things they can do without getting really crazy with it. So as long as the gameplay is different and it feels different and it is still a new game, it has different guns, different maps. Well, obviously the maps currently are just from the OG Modern Warfare 2, but you know what I mean. Eventually we're going to be getting some DLC and there's going to be some new maps there. In general, this is a different Call of Duty experience than the one we had last year. It's as simple as that. It is not just a $70 DLC. And to even further prove my point, we are still getting a fully fledged campaign experience and then of course zombies, which I've definitely mentioned time and time again my sort of concern with the zombies mode here, but there still is a zombies mode. There still is going to be all of that, and then we're going to be getting a full DLC season full of content. So regardless of if you think this is worthy of a $70 game, regardless of that, it definitely is not just a DLC to Modern Warfare 2 because the game is nothing like it. It's really not. In terms of how it plays, how it feels, it does not feel the same. This is mainly a video message towards basically anyone who hasn't tried the game yet and just isn't too sure and does not want to play a game that's similar to Modern Warfare 2. Believe me, it is not the same at all. And this is coming from someone who really did not like Modern Warfare 2. I really did not enjoy that game. I think it was one of the worst Call of Duties of all time. I'm very glad that we have something that's very different this year that I can actually enjoy and have a good time with. And then if you're wondering, like, okay, why couldn't Modern Warfare 2 be this from the beginning? Or why couldn't Modern Warfare 2 have some big update that changes everything and adds all these fixes in? Well, first of all, again, the game is very different. Like, I don't think it's as simple as pressing a button and just changing time to kill values and, you know, the movement, all that. Like, you can't just press a button and change all that. I'm sure you would have to do a lot of reworking of the entire game. And at that point, why not just make a new game, right? And at the end of the day, that was Infinity Ward's game. Like, they wouldn't change these things. They would have, if they wanted to change the movement, time to kill, and all that, they would have done it way earlier on in the life cycle of Modern Warfare 2 instead of waiting a whole year later. And I don't think they would have wanted to make those changes. They wanted to keep the game the way they wanted it to be, and Sledgehammer wanted to make the game that they wanted to make. So they're very different style games, and I'm fine that both of these different versions exist because let's say you're the type of person who loved Modern Warfare 2 and you do not like what Modern Warfare 3 has to offer so far. Well, then you can stick with Modern Warfare 2. You can keep playing that the rest of this year. You don't have to deal with, you know, a whole new game. But let's say they updated Modern Warfare 2 and just made it exactly the way Modern Warfare 3 is. Well, then now those players would be stuck with the new game in terms of, you know, maybe it's something that they didn't like, certain gameplay designs that they don't like. Not that I think Infinity Ward's design should ever stick around. I really hope we never see that again. But in general, if that was something you just preferred, at least it was still there as an option with this being a completely separate game and not just updating Modern Warfare 2, which again, I don't think would be even that feasible. Like I said, I think it would just be a waste of their time, a waste of their efforts. It makes more sense to just create a whole new game. And I'm very glad we're getting that because like I said, I think this game is already sounding really amazing just from the beta. And just, you know, playing it has been really fun. The full game can't be that much, it can't be worse. It really can't. It has to be probably even better, especially when we get to the DLC. I can't wait for it. Let me know your guys' thoughts in the comment section down below. I will see you all in the next one. Peace out.